Now, so some big developments in the FBI search of former President Trump's Mar-a-Lago estate. A Florida judge ordering the Department of Justice to submit a redacted copy of the affidavit, which includes the evidence and testimony used to grant the search warrant. Brooke Schaefer, live near Mar-a-Lago to explain the arguments for and against the document's release. Brooke?
Adrian, good morning. The legal team for the DOJ given a strict deadline here. They now have until next week, Thursday at noon, to bring back the judge a redacted version of this affidavit. Then he will make his decision. In court yesterday, Judge Bruce Reinhart told the legal team for the DOJ to go back, block out or take out anything in the affidavit the Justice Department thinks would compromise its investigation. Judge Reinhart will then look at that redacted document and then decide whether we, the public, get to see it. This affidavit explains in detail why the government felt a search of former President Trump's home was necessary. As we have been reporting, the former president has said he wants the unredacted affidavit released, but the DOJ is arguing strongly against that. Their legal team in court said unsealing the document could, among other things, potentially put some of their witnesses in this case in danger.
I think there will be far more redactions than there will be actually visible words in the document. In my 34 years being involved in the criminal justice system, 21 of them spent as a prosecutor, I'm very surprised to see even a partial release of an affidavit that's under seal in an ongoing criminal investigation where no formal criminal charges have been filed. It is certainly quite an unusual event to have taken place.
All right, so again, that deadline is next week, Thursday. But even if the judge decides to release a heavily redacted version of this affidavit, the legal team for the DOJ can still go back and appeal that decision. So, Adrian, it's possible that this gets pushed back even further than next week.
All right, Brooke, thank you very much. Let's bring in Wendy Patrick, legal analyst, and we want to get some insights on this story. Thank you very much for joining us, Wendy. We know the Department of Justice has just until next Thursday to submit a redacted version to the court. But what does this look like?
Well, I don't think it's going to look like what the public or the media wants it to look like. I don't think it's going to be any sort of a big reveal. If anything, it might be a page of black ink. Why do I say that? Because we already know some of the preliminary things that nobody objected to being released. We know what was seized, we know what areas were seized, and we know generally what crimes were being investigated. What we don't know is what we're not going to know. It's very unlikely the Department of Justice is going to reveal its sources, its methods, any identity, or this roadmap. Remember, that's the way they describe this investigation. It's a roadmap to an ongoing criminal probe. They're not going to throw a roadblock in it by giving up too much of what they're looking into. So I do agree with our excellent reporting here. I think that it's going to be simply the beginning of perhaps a protracted negotiation of what ultimately the public is going to be able to see.
Now, if the judge believes there are portions that could be unsealed or revealed to the public, how might this impact the investigation?
It could impact the investigation by impeding the investigation. You're not going to let everyone know where you're going if you're an investigating agency, or you risk witnesses disappearing, evidence being destroyed, or other types of things that would compromise the integrity of an ongoing investigation. You also could put people in danger. Remember, that was one of the original circumstances cited by the DOJ, saying, we don't want to compromise the people that are cooperating with us. So it could not only put agents in danger, but some of these civilians, perhaps, that have been providing information. They're not going to do that. And you know what? Even the media went on record yesterday saying, we don't want that either. Everybody wants to see this investigation carried through to its logical conclusion, regardless of where it leads.
As Brooke was reporting for us, if the judge wants to release the redacted version of the affidavit, can the DOJ still appeal?
Absolutely. And you know, that process, sadly, might take us closer into the midterms. I understand that Donald Trump isn't on the ballot, but I call him the shadow candidate. That his endorsement of some of those who are on the ballot is really going to carry great weight. So yes, although you won't see his name directly, it is going to potentially impact the way people vote. Because you're right, I don't expect this to be wrapped up next week. Probably not even close. We're just beginning this sort of negotiation, if you will, as to what ultimately can be released.
Just for the public's knowledge, in federal court, what are the rules about who is entitled to see the affidavit?
Well, it depends on the case. You know, there are some cases that really aren't very controversial and it doesn't involve an ongoing investigation in the early stages. That's the way this one has been described. So the rules are really up to the judge. It's a balancing of the equities. That's why you see Lady Justice with a scale. And here, that's exactly what the judge is going to be doing, exactly what he said he is. He's going to look at the equities on both sides. I will say, though, the stakes are higher here, not only given the area that was searched, but who could possibly be the potential target.
And what do you think prompted the judge's decision to actually release parts of it? I mean, is this, I don't think that public pressure has anything to play in this, but perhaps there is some obligation by the courts to reveal at least part of it to the public?
Well, I wouldn't call it an obligation, but I think you're correct in that it is true that it's not every case that garners this amount of public scrutiny or this request by the media. Now, I understand the Trump organization, they're also making a request, but not formally. They're almost amicus, as we sometimes say. But the judges aren't supposed to be influenced by partisan politics, and there isn't evidence that that's happening here, although I know there's an argument. So the judge is probably, knowing that he's under immense scrutiny by both sides, is going to be very careful in weighing the ultimate decision as to how much the public gets to see.
Wendy Patrick, legal analyst, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find News Nation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of News Nation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.